Hello and welcome to the second tutorial for Sound Sorcerer. In this tutorial we're going to be talking about waveforms. In the first tutorial we briefly went over it. I showed you guys that even though we used sine for Mary Had a Little Lamb, there was also triangle wave, sawtooth wave, and square wave. So in today's tutorial we're going to go over those guys and hear what they sound like. Okay, first up I want to show you guys the Wikipedia page that shows these things. Here at the top you can see the sine wave. This is what the actual wave looks like when you're using the sine node. Here's the square wave, the triangle wave, and the sawtooth wave. All these guys sound pretty different. The sine wave and the triangle wave sound fairly similar, but they're somewhat different. But the other guys are definitely different. Okay, so back to our program. Just to remind you guys how it sounds. So that's sine. So let's go ahead and hook up some other guys. On the melody node, you might notice that as soon as I hooked that guy up in the first tutorial, the second pin appeared. What the melody note does is allows you to have one melody that hooks up to several different nodes, and so basically it'll make sure at least one node is open for you to use. So let's hook up some of the other sounds. So we'll get a triangle, a saw, and square wave. So we can hook those up. But now we have a problem. We have 4 outputs here and only one input connection on the output. How we solve that is we go under sound processing and grab a mixer. We can connect that up. Now the mixer works kind of like I was talking about the melody working, where it makes sure you always have one empty hole. So if you connect these guys up, you can see that the mixer makes more inputs for you. So you can have any number of inputs into the mixer. It doesn't really matter. So pretty that up a little bit. Okay, so right now on the mixer, you can see in his properties he has a volume for each of his inputs. So we can adjust those individually. And we also have this option down here called Normalized Volumes. And what that does is these sliders go from 0 to 1, and they're just a percentage to multiply these waves by, and that's how it handles volume. So what this does is if normalized volumes is checked, it'll take all those numbers and make sure that they add up to 1. And so that way you have a kind of a normalized volume, rather that their max volume is normalized. The waves are weird because they might add together and become smaller. They'd have to, but other times they can add together and become bigger. It just depends what phase they're at. So anyways, let's go hear our thing again. Let's put all these except for the first input all the way down. So what this does, it makes it so all we hear is our sine wave. So it should hear this. It should sound the same. Totally does. Okay, so let's hear the triangle wave next. Similar, but you can definitely tell there's a difference. Okay, next up, here's the saw. Definite difference there. And now the square. And that guy's different, obviously, from the rest. So cool. You can see that they each sound different, and you might want a smoother sound, so you would use a sine wave or possibly a triangle wave. If you wanted a buzzier sound, you might use the saw wave. And if you wanted kind of like a buzzier but richer sound, you might use the square wave. So something neat about Sound Sorcerer is that you can actually change the parameters while it's playing. So let's start it up. And right now it's silent because the mixer is completely quiet. So let's bring in some sine. Now just to give it a little bit of an edge, let's add in some saw. you go. You can see how each of these different waveforms have their uses, and you can use a mixer in real time to craft your own sort of custom waveform by adjusting the volumes. And last time, here's the images that show how each of the waves look. And I'll put this link up there next to the tutorial as well. Thank you.